I was going to say was my headphones, my white corded Apple headphones, plays me. It played me out of my left ear and you out of the right ear and Ben out of both ears.
I thought it was your headphones.
That might be my headphones.
I can't hear anything. Can you?
Yeah, I'm on. So, yeah, I'm on. The 3's on. Wait. I was just working. Yeah. All right, you're 1, Ben. Yeah. And 3. Yeah. 1.
I had it.
4.
I had it set.
Yeah.
I can't hear you in my headphones. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you need to turn them on or something?
I did. Oh, they're on. They might be out of batteries or something.
It has their battery?
Yeah. Let's talk.
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Hello?
As long as we can get people to hear us on there, I'm good without headphones. I'm not sure what's happening.
I mean, it's working.
Okay.
So.
All right.
We can find out.
Well, if it's not working, please let us know.
What is that crackle?
Well, you got some notes today?
Here's some
I
crackle,
have a few
crackle.
things. I had notes depending on what you want to talk about.
Is that on YouTube? Never mind.
What's going on? How's the audio?
That's good now.
Notes and quotes. I told JB I didn't tell you, but I'm starting a Ben quote page. You can't see it. Though.
Oh, my quote page. All right. Oh, great.
These are for me. When Ben says little nuggets, I don't like that.
You like that or you don't
No,
like
I
that?
like that. Those
Oh,
are like
okay.
these are the good things. What?
That's you.
It's me?
Yeah,
I'm
don't mess.
crackling?
Yeah, you gotta
Okay.
hold. You gotta.
Not touch the bottom
Yeah, not
of the
touch
mic.
that.
All right, you're
How's
the
that?
audio guy,
Is that
so
good?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you're great now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
okay. As long as you can hear, someone comment that the audio is okay, or are they heckling?
Let me know. Emily, thank you. She can hear us. Sounds good.
Okay.
It's working great.
My headphones are broken then.
Fonzie. Let's get it.
All right, so we're back here.
Welcome
We're
back.
back.
Yeah,
Less than a month.
less than a month. We did it.
That's right. Was it good to see Adam?
1 week. Yeah, it was a great weekend. It was a lot of fun. The Rogue Invitational. I got to stay with Adam and them, so I got to see the boys and Shay and hung out. We worked out at like 11:30 at night and woke up at 5:30 every morning. So it's like somehow you just end up not sleeping or taking care of yourself while you're on a trip. I'm thinking, I'm gonna get to sleep
Right.
and rest and
Yes.
wake up at 7 a.m. Nope, it's early mornings and late nights, but it was great. I wouldn't have done anything differently.
Yeah.
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 It's like a good event.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun to watch because, I mean, I didn't get to watch much of it. I got to watch Laura's heats, because we're back in the warm-up area and sometimes guys go first or whatever. And
Right.
I get to watch it after the fact, which is cool. But I think from who I talked to, it was fun to watch because it was very few heats. It wasn't like 1,000 heats all day of
Yeah.
teams and
Just two.
all kinds of people
Or
with
maybe
just
4 if they cut them down to. Did they ever do 5? Yeah, when they did like this.
groups of 5 for a couple events.
For the sprint stuff.
That is good. I mean, that's always the hard thing about watching regionals or, whatever it is, semifinals, was when you have 40 people and then you have 4 heats of guys, 4 heats of girls, and if that workout's 20 minutes, whatever that
that's
chipper
long.
workout
Yeah.
was, holy smokes, that was like 4 hours watching one
Oh, yeah.
workout. And at that point, you're just watching the same thing for over and over and over again. So.
Yeah.
But we all did it. It was weird that that's what you did, though, for forever. Was like you didn't just watch one heat. You watched all of them. So I did appreciate that aspect of it.
Yeah. I missed being there in person because I was there last year. And I go to a lot of the stuff I can in person. And it's just better because you can watch everything. You can see the angle of the athletes. And you can see the story unfold as it is and not the story that's told to you on the view, which is... But they got to guess. I know they got to guess because they only have so many cameramen out there. So they're like, okay, we're going to be here. This is who you should focus on. And this is where they're told to go. Half the time, the cameramen themselves, a lot of the times, don't even know CrossFit.
I don't think they're CrossFitters. I think they're
Yeah.
like from
they're
whoever.
just
Who is it?
I think
CBS, NBC?
CBS was the one this time, I think, was on the mics that I
Oh,
saw.
okay.
the
Yeah,
little-
yeah.
That's the eye logo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
CBS, yeah. So it's like you're getting whatever story, you're getting whatever and someone could be in an outside lane winning that heat, and you have no idea until the very end, or you just don't even get to see the person that maybe you want to see.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me seeing like the behind the scenes stuff, and then seeing everybody go out on the floor and compete, and then seeing, like you said, what people are gonna say. You gonna get the door? Thank you. We forgot to do everything today. This was we planned it, but it was very last minute here. I love being in the warm up area talking to everybody. I got to see all the old.
Right,
all the old legends.
all your crew coming up when you were coming up into CrossFit at the game.
Yeah, it was so good to see everybody. I got a chance to talk to. I was like trying to do that in between between events, just get around and talk to somebody.
Yeah, 2 of those old crew, the ones that programmed it. Did you know that going in?
Yeah, Chris and Josh. So I figured there'd be some. I'm surprised with the back squats in the workout. That one workout, heavy back squats in a workout, but it makes sense with Chris and Josh programming.
Well, explain that.
Josh loves to do back squats.
I was gonna say I was wondering why.
I follow him on Instagram.
Well, yeah.
So
that's the thing. I was like, is he going the opposite direction? Because I was gonna say that was for sure going to be programmed based on knowing him. So okay,
yeah,
it's the same thing.
A weak legs, weak mind thing or something.
Yeah.
He's got some sort of quote like that.
Yeah, I thought that was Dane. It might have been Josh. I don't know.
It's Josh.
Okay, yeah, that's from Josh then.
Yeah.
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah, it checks out.
It does check out. I was watching some of his squats last night in a video that he posted, and they like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't squat the way he squats. Everybody squats differently, all of the above. I actually squat a lot like this picture right here with this Superman, like real old Kelly Starrett.
Yeah, that's you, right?
Really just like screwing your feet into the ground.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Knees, we squat very similar, but I also have very long legs or whatever. Whereas he doesn't have to squat that way. And like watching somebody just sort of lower down into a squat, as their, ankles and knees move forward and then come right back up, like sort of no variation out to the side, or, even like the Russians or the Chinese, like sort of angle their feet out or whatever, just like real straight railroad track squatting is always just like, it messes with my mind.
You're either built like that or you're not.
Yeah.
A lot of it's
like
just
Dane
squats like that. Adam squats like
that
too, which is odd, but just super narrow.
Yeah.
Knees kind of. He goes out too, but
at the bottom of his squat,
the bottom they go out and they come right back. Yeah.
a lot of it's just
Squats
anatomy.
Yeah.
Anatomy, positioning, like how your hip capsule and everything sets. Everybody squats differently, but yeah. Yeah, that video I posted on Instagram of me and him squatting, you could see like the big difference. Because I'm much wider now. I adjusted back out wider, toes more straight ahead or as straight ahead as I can get them, and I feel like my hips light up again, like my adductors. Yeah. And it's been so weak for so long. It's good to get back to like squatting a little bit wider. I always change back and forth, but from what I've learned, the wide stance translates to a narrow stance. But if you're narrow, you can't go wide. And I've always thought being wider is a little bit more athletic. Like helps, if you can be able to, helps cutting, changing directions, being able to move and adapt. Like if I'm going to do something that translates over to everything else, like I'm going to squat wide because it's going to translate over to all the other squat widths. But if I squat narrow all the time, it's not going to translate over to that wide stance. So it's good to think about. That's something that I'll have. Like if an athlete is weak in their leg drive, like out of the hole, like if they're hitting the bottom and they're trying to get out of the hole and their knees come together and you see like they're really using all adductor to try to like squeeze themselves out of the bottom, like there's no hip drive out of there, I'll have them do like box squats, or they'll have them do sumo deadlifts or something like that where they're out and their knees are out and they're focused on getting towards or tension in their hips.
I need that.
Yeah, I know, but like I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten away from that and I've noticed it. Like my hips hurt more. But the more I do, we've started adding them back in my deadlift program and started adding them back in. I'm going to start adding them back in for back squats as well. And it's like, it just helps. Like you're more explosive. You stay a little bit tighter. And then when you squat narrow or you pull narrow from the floor, you feel great. Right. You can still create that stability in your hip. I don't know. It's just an interesting anatomy point.
Yeah.
But I don't know how
people, and it was weird that was like, there seemed to be originally, and we can sort of move on after this, but originally was kind of like, hey, let's teach people how to squat, and we'll have this uniform, pretty like basic, generic, like this is how you do it, this is where you set up, this is how you do it, this is you know, how you move A, B, and C. And then now, you know, 10, 12 years in to like pretty like mainstream, you know, attention being on movement patterns, quality of movement, you're starting to realize, hey, there really might be a more, or there might be more need for some nuance in this coaching of the people at your gym, even recognizing like, hey, like we need to look at your legs, we need to look at, you know, knee to hip, you know, your ankle, all of these things. And that's the thing that I am always like attracted to, like podcast wise, the gym or whatever. Test, retest what CrossFit produced when it was like, hey, you're going to do something that's going to feel good for a while or whatever. But if it's not correct, it will manifest and will show itself. Like it will come out of the darkness into the light. And you'll be like, I might need to, you know, do something about this because clearly I'm off a little bit.
Well, you always need a good starting point, like a base starting point for, especially when you have people coming in that are brand new and intro and stuff like that. Good starting point for that squat. But then I usually ask if it looks good for me as a coach and I'm looking at it. I usually ask them, how does that feel? How does it feel to you? Does anything feel off, awkward? You know what I mean? Because maybe something might work a little bit better for them, and I don't want to like pigeonhole them into one specific spot stance because of their own mobility or anatomy. It's not the same as mine. It's not the same as anyone else's. So it's like that's kind of like, how does it feel?
Yeah, that's like a dynamic of coaching that you really have to be able to adapt kind of on the fly, and you have to understand the squat, for example, so well and so deeply that you can give that away to almost anybody that wants to learn from you. You know, like you can't just say, hey, you have to squat this way, because I don't think that's the way that it should be. And I think the way that it should be is like, it's almost like individualized coaching or programming. Like when you're doing a class, you should be able to go around to each person in the class and be able to give them something that they can improve on or work on, but it might be different person to person. That's the interesting thing. That's why I don't know. That's why I've never liked the cookie cutter approach to anything. I don't think there's a cookie cutter approach to coaching. I don't think there's a cookie cutter approach to movement or anything like that. I just think, I don't know. There's biomechanics, right? Yep. And then different people create different mechanics based off of whatever, how they move. Or I find it so fascinating. It's like you can see in the games athletes, I loved watching everybody in the warm-up areas because everybody moves so different. And you can see on their body where they built muscle was dependent on how they moved. So like, I'll use Danny Spiegel as an example. You can tell when she deadlifts or when she squats why she's putting muscle on her quads, because she moves to use those as like a primary mover. Those are the movers, you know. But it's like people are built up in certain ways to do certain movements better than others because they trained that way. So it's really interesting to me. I just like watching. I loved watching the strongmen. It was like being in a zoo watching these huge animals like walk around and pick up some crazy objects. It was nuts. I just like sitting back there watching them warm up. It was just fascinating to me how much they sacrifice for their sport. They sacrifice everything for their sport.
The podcast of like, are professional athletes healthy? It's like, bro, go and get a behind the scenes look at what these guys are willing to do to become great. In their domain. It's like, man.
Yeah, I saw one of them and I said, hey, how you feeling? And he goes, not good, but I'm strong. And that's all that matters. And I was like, well, that just solidified it in my mind. That's about what I thought too. That's what they care about.
Like it.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
so what just to go in another direction, what was your favorite event of the weekend?
I like the final a lot. I thought it was interesting to end on that.
Just heavy grace.
Yeah. I like the little twist of the things that they threw in there. Like I like the 4-inch log when they had to do bar muscle ups on it. Like if you've ever done muscle ups on a playground, you've done muscle ups on a 4-inch log. It's just a little bit different. Maybe we all haven't done that. I've done it a few times.
We haven't.
What?
I've pulled myself up over like a brick before, which was kind of the same similar thing. No room for a big kit.
It's a very functional muscle up. Yeah. I like it. Sure. It's a translate over to like, there's a little tweak on it. What else we got? The back squats in the workout. I would never do that workout in training. That's not a workout you program for your gym ever. No need for it whatsoever. It was so heavy that it's like, if you're out of position just a little bit, you're hurt. You hurt yourself or you do something wrong. It's like, that's a test. Like that's not a training workout. I would never do that in training.
Correct.
Ever.
So tell So what would you do in training like that?
Set of 10. Back squat. Build up to a set of 10. Like if you can squat 4 or 5 for 10, that workout's
Like
no problem for
10,
you.
8, 6, 4, 2?
Nope, just a set of 10. Strength work. There's no need to train for a workout like that.
Okay.
Like you don't train for a workout like that. Like that's a test, and you either have that or you don't. Like you either have the strength to complete that. The box jump overs are not hard, but they are supposed to zap your strength so that if you get back to the back squat and you're not feeling it, or you rush, or you're off balance, or you're not competent in that movement to the right standard to hit that 405, then you're gonna miss, and then you're gonna cost you your workout. Mm-hmm. So like, but I would never train. Like that's too hard on your body to train.
Yeah.
It was hard on the bodies, I think. I think most of the athletes were hurting after that. Like it was just a lot of volume.
Laura won that. Was that one of the 4 she won?
Yeah, she smashed that workout.
That.
But she's got a good back squat, and she doesn't have like a high 1 rep max. But I mean, she does. But it's she's better for reps, you know. And then she has that engine that just she's solid, and she can move through those movements. So, I mean, she back squats 275 all the time. Like,
yeah,
right.
She's still on her way up when she's hitting that weight.
Right.
But interesting test. You know, I think they were throwing around like a 10.8.642 at 315. Yeah. Also, which would have been just as interesting, just a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be harder. Yeah. What do you think about that? I was playing around with the numbers in my head, and I was like, you know, that workout is just it's a test, and that's exactly the perfect language that you put to it. And rewriting the test, thinking about it a little more, I ended up at a 10.8.642, but I ended up at 365 though. That's the weight. Mm-hmm. That was like, that would have been
at 365.
Yeah, like just brutal. Like
that would have you would have found people that failed in that one. I think.
Yeah,
that would have been a lot.
It had a little bit more of a game aspect to it in my mind. I don't know.
This was very fast, and I knew it was going to be fast.
Yeah.
All the events were very fast. You know, and they said that they didn't want to test for the fittest. They wanted to, and I say they, I mean Josh and Chris and Rogue. They said they wanted to test the athletes. They wanted to put on a show.
Right. Yeah.
And I think they wanted to be like the power output games. Like, it's not supposed to be the CrossFit games. Like, you're not going to see handstand walking. You're not going to see a bunch of high skill, like, pistols, or I think stuff like that. Like, I think they're going to keep it very, very short, very simple. Just very fun to watch, I think, is what they want.
I think it
I think they did that this year.
It was fun to watch.
Absolutely.
For the most
Absolutely.
part, yeah. I don't think that there was. There's been some people talking about like the sprint one where the cuts were made. I don't know what they call it. With the
where
and the sandbag elimination.
There were some issues with that one.
Yeah, there were some issues in like judging, and then confusion over, hey, how did you have to cross the finish line? Like, were you supposed to be on 2 feet crossing it, or just get over it, fall over it? I don't know. Whatever it was, like, the result made for a great show. People like falling across, diving across, like.
Yeah, I think that's what they wanted they wanted a sprint finish.
Yeah.
I said it would have been cool if they would have done like 3 pig flips at the end, rather than like a sandbag to the finish. But the sandbag to the finish was fun, and it was fast, and it was exciting. Like either one, I thought like either one would have been pretty cool. And I thought of 3 because like the strongmen did that medley, and they finished with 3 log clean and press, and that's how they. I don't know, just thought it'd be cool. But I like, I like the
fun event to
so
watch,
the whole discrepancy is the like ridiculousness of having to judge those overhead squats.
Well, there was the judging issues. There were a lot of judging issues this weekend. They made it hard for the judges.
Really bad.
There was, and I was watching that lane, and it was.
And it was.
I sent one to Hiller. I sent a video to Hiller.
Right, and
he's like already on it. I'm like, I should have known you were already on
over it and really talking about it, because they did like a recap after every event. That whole crew.
Oh, did they?
And Hillary, after every single event. I basically consumed CrossFit content all week.
Did you?
That's like all I did. I watched Rogue, and then when I wasn't watching Rogue, I was like, hey, what are they talking about? And back and forth, and I did nothing but that, except when I tuned in for.
I did the opposite, and I felt great. I was not on YouTube at all. I normally consume like YouTube all day.
Too much. I needed like a detox at the end of the weekend, but it was tough to see. So I didn't focus on that, so I didn't really notice it the whole time. I did notice, like, when Danny was going, I think she got that same judge, and she got 2 or 3 in one round of her overhead squats, and I was like, I was unsure what she was getting no rep for.
They all looked the same to me.
Exactly. I was like, okay, that one looked the same as that one, so why was that one a no rep?
And that's where like movement choice comes into play. Like if you can pick a simpler movement that's very clear. Like overhead squat's probably the most unclear movement.
Would have been better if it were like just like a power snatch.
Power snatch, maybe. Even that. But like something really simple. Has to be heavy enough that you can.
Well, and this is the conversation. What is the thing that you can put there that is clear?
Yeah.
And clean. And I'm not sure we have a lot of
options.
A lot of that. Like, I don't know. But you could argue it's something like a heavy clean and jerk.
Or a lighter clean and jerk even, but then that would have been sort of redundant based on the weekend.
Right. Well, yeah. And, yeah. Even that one is... You get bad extension. You get bad lockouts.
Yeah.
It's more clear, though. It would be more clear.
It would be more clear.
It would be more clear, or there's a rep grace period or something like, hey, stand up.
Yeah.
Before you get a no rep and then have to do 12 on a round of 10 in a 30-second effort.
Yeah, because you can't afford that. You can't. I don't think as an event organizer you can afford having the people show up to compete at your event to have to deal with that. For mainly one, and then two, you have volunteers unless they paid these judges.
I heard
like
they reached out to people for
judging.
like
I
don't
that
know
is
that they paid them, but I heard they
sucks.
actually reached out to people that had a good amount of experience,
good track record and stuff.
And track record at regional levels and beyond to like basically invite them to come judge. I imagine they give them some sort of, I don't know if it's like monetary compensation, but at least some major rogue hookup for the weekend or something. But
I love that all the people are volunteers. I think it's awesome. But like,
no, I think it matters.
You're gonna get problems.
You have to keep it that way.
I think it matters too, and I think this is down to like what I wanted to talk about. It comes down to kind of what I wanted to talk about today. But like, it's this whole thing, the rogue stuff, the CrossFit Games, all of the competitions that everybody's placing all of the emphasis on right now, and they're like, people are talking about all of the money that the athletes are making, and they're really drawn to talking about money and talking about sponsorships and talking about who's going where and who's working with who. And it's like they're treating the athletes like celebrities, which they can be, sure. Like they're people that other people would look up to and want to be like. But if there's no connection between them and the everyday athlete, it's going to be hard for the sport to continue as it was. Correct. And I say as it was because it was a certain way years ago. And it's not that anymore. It is different. It has changed. And I think that it's changed. I'm trying to put my finger on why it's changed, but it's severed the tie between the CrossFit Games athlete and the everyday CrossFit gym and the affiliate and the methodology and the programming and like all of the stuff that made CrossFit so great and that made it in the beginning, like made it so that the CrossFit Games could exist. You can't lose all that. Like you can't just cut ties and let it go. And I don't know what exactly it is, but I know like I'll use this as an example. When Reebok came into CrossFit and they remade their entire company around health and fitness. And their goal and their initiative was, we're going to change the world through CrossFit. It wasn't like it wasn't just trying to sponsor the CrossFit Games athletes, although they did that. But they used the CrossFit Games athletes as the pinnacle of the sport and as the ideal or the example that you could become if you went to the gym or something like that. And then they sold product based off of that.
Healthy and fit.
Yeah.
It has to exist above the person. Like your goal, your mission, your purpose, whatever it is that you're aiming at. It can't be like it's not going to be the person. Like the games athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're going to be a great example, and then you're going to say, I want to be like that person, and then you're going to have to continue to ask those questions, and you're going to arrive at, well, I want to be what that person represents. Healthy, fit, whatever, LGN, doesn't matter. Like it's going to, naturally, it's just going to progress past that. And Reebok was committed to that.
And so I think there's a lot of brands that have come into CrossFit, that have started in the CrossFit space, and a couple that have like really blown up. And then it's like they just dump CrossFit back behind them, like they leave them in the dust almost, which is fine. It's like business is business, whatever. But I think CrossFit, I don't know. I'm just thinking this through. CrossFit could do like could partner with a company like a large company, but the company would need to be committed to the ideology or the viewpoint of CrossFit to help spread that globally. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
but if they work together, they can really do something. But like CrossFit by itself, I don't know that it's going to be like recognized worldwide. Like, I think people think that if more money comes into the space and they pay the athletes more, that CrossFit's going to somehow grow. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. It's just going to be like an X Games sport, like a motocross or skateboarding. Like 5 people are going to make all the money from all these sponsors who are going to get some attention at some events, but there's no tie to the average everyday person.
That's a really good example. I don't know, the skateboarder or the motocross.
Yeah,
sort
like,
of
it's really a
place.
niche area. Like,
Yeah, and all those people are going to do that for their whole life. Like,
I've turned on the X Games the other day, and Tony Hawk was skateboarding.
Right.
And I'm like,
is there a master's
what?
division now?
Right, what is happening?
I'm like,
No,
that's nuts.
I mean,
like,
but
he can clearly still do it, but
clearly he still loves to do it too. Like this, that's a part of him. I was thinking the other day, how long will I do this for? And my answer was, until I can't.
Right.
yeah.
That's fun.
But we know that there's not a point where you
Right.
can't.
Right.
Like, I mean, there's people in the community that have proven that
Yeah.
over and over and over. Like, there's not a point to where you can't benefit from CrossFit.
Correct.
You know, and it's like CrossFit is the cure to all of these health issues in the country.
Yes.
CrossFit is the cure to solving the crisis of community that we seem to be having. Like, is a cure.
It's
Not
a
the cure.
Right.
It's a cure.
Yeah.
Right. It's representative. It's like a fractal of the bigger picture of things, which we talk about all the time. Like, but it's not. It's like if the people inside of the community don't recognize that, it's never going to manifest itself.
Right. And do you think like the conversation, that the spaces where CrossFit conversation is happening right now, how much of it do you I guess we're learning on the fly how much of it should be about what this is, sort of, you know, why we do, what the gym is, what it symbolizes, what the athlete symbolizes, all, you know, the workouts mean, how it's way more than, you know, meets the eye. And then also all of the spaces where they're going to do deep dives on the competition, and they're going to write articles on the competition. Like I read Brian Friend's article, awesome. And then, anyways, it's really fun that there are going to be people commenting, following things and making content and being able to grab your attention on YouTube every 6 hours or whatever it is. Every day we're going to have something, and people in the space continuing to garner and generate attention on this. And then also how much time and attention is going to be put towards maybe the philosophy or the health side. You know, like, are there going to be any podcasts that just show up where it's like, hey, we're going to like really, we're going to do a nutrition podcast, and
Didn't
it's just going to
have
be
a CrossFit Health podcast for a while? I think that they
if they did, I didn't listen to it.
I saw a meme where it was like, there was a picture of this random guy, and it's like, meet George. He's the only guy in the world that doesn't have a podcast. I think everybody has a
That's so
podcast.
This is true.
They're everywhere. We have a podcast.
Do you think there's like an internal, I don't want to say like war, but like people within CrossFit, I feel like, in one camp and then in another camp?
I wonder. Everybody I talk to.
You're securely in, and what we should promote and how CrossFit should go forward, or how it should constantly be connected. And then the other camp of, no, the only way for this sport to become something, for these people to become professional athletes. I still don't understand what constitutes professionalization.
Yeah, people need
of
to
anything.
stop saying that.
So if you look it up, if you actually look up that term of professionalization, it talks about, like, you know, like, not communities, or I don't know the thing we're looking for, like certified
Google it,
entities of, it's kind of like, what's the word? I'm losing it.
It's like I get what you're saying.
A board of,
Like
yeah, it has to have a board and has to have so many rules. Anyway, nothing.
I think the word professionalization is wrong. I think you just need to say growing. It needs to grow, and it needs to grow towards the good, like in the right direction.
Professionalization spoke about money or monetary anything.
Yeah, and that's what seems to be the focus right now. And this is what I've been wrestling with, and we've been talking about. I
talked to Danny about it for like an hour the other day, just impromptu. I was like, all right, we're going to do this on the podcast whenever she's back.
I know I wanted to be on the fly on the wall there, but I had to do some stuff.
It was awesome. She's wicked smart, and I'm excited for when she comes on because
that'd be
it
good.
was
I'd like to
awesome. It was awesome. I can't wait. But
I'm glad, sad
it's
I missed that
it's
one.
to the well.
No, we
She
haven't done
did
it yet.
mention talking to you and liking talking to you.
It's gonna be. I think it will be really really fun to get because, and it's specifically with her, like she could make millions of dollars.
How do you
doing
know how do you know she already does
Yeah,
that?
how do you know she doesn't?
I know she is not making millions of dollars, but she's making a lot of money right now.
You sure about that?
I'm almost positive.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she's not making $1 million. She didn't make $1 million last year, but I'm gonna ask her. We'll find out. And that's the thing that most
if you can
people
ask
wouldn't
people
be
that.
able. I'll ask
People
anyone
that?
anything. And the reason I'll ask anyone anything is because when they ask me back, I have no problem telling them how much money I make. Not a lot.
Not a lot.
So I have that going for me. This isn't it's not a one-upper question. How much money do you make? Because I make this much. Dog, I look homeless. I don't even shave. But anyways, we were talking, we're getting into it, and I was like, hey, there's this consciousness that has arose, I guess, in this online consciousness space, or whatever it is, of professionalizing CrossFit. All the articles are being written. These crappy podcasts are being done. All these has been, whatever it is, have something to say. Why don't we have a actual good conversation about this money thing and see what it's about? And so my question to you is, how much does money matter? Question mark.
For what?
And
Money is a thing, like it allows you to do what you want to do.
Right.
Like
So
it's a tool.
are these people? Is anybody commenting on this, thinking about the what is it, utilization?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. People don't understand that if you bring money into the space, it's not going to have an effect unless you have people in the space that can take the tool and use it appropriately. Like if I hand out hammers to everybody, it's like, and not everybody
And you
knows
only
what a
have
hammer is
screws.
used for. It's like you're going to end up people hitting each other with hammers, because that's just human nature. Like it's just going to become something else that it's not intended to be. So it's like you have to understand. That's why I think us talking about methodology in CrossFit and what it was about in the beginning and holding on to that tradition as we move forward, I think is very important.
I think if CrossFit sticks to its guns and does what it should do and remain in the health and fitness space, it will grow gradually into becoming a very real space where very large pools of money start to acquire and then proceed to go out because it benefits the pool of money growing and the people involved with it. It will be a mutually beneficial relationship between the athlete or the gym owner or whatever it is. And if you go back, if you had told Bill Russell, that Steph Curry would get a $500 million contract to play basketball, he would have laughed because he made $50,000 a season.
Yeah, I mean, also there's a lot of economic reasons behind that, but yes.
So there's, but the point, the tiny point of money in the NBA. Let's talk about money in the NBA in the 1950s versus money in the NBA in 2020. How much more money is there? Well, a lot more. And at this point, you do your
But
your,
the NBA
your
is
ROI.
CrossFit.
No
This is
team-
my
no
problem
team.
is why you can't compare somebody who's making
I'm
a
not
comparison.
comparing it to CrossFit.
No.
I'm comparing it
other
to
people were.
Yeah, I'm not comparing it to CrossFit, me personally.
Mhm.
I'm comparing it to a space where you have people performing an act that other people are going to watch happen. CrossFit is more than that, just like basketball is more than the NBA. I mean, basketball was my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball was some of my favorite times with my dad. Basketball is something that I will love to do at any point.
You
at
can go
any
home and play
time.
at home. Yeah.
I'll play at home.
Yeah.
Right? Like it spans this larger thing. However, it is a I think it's comparable at least in this way. It started off with a little pool of money to pay people to do what they were doing, to take away some of the attention or garner some people's attention, to make money off of garnering that attention by broadcasting it back to you for the whole world or however many people to see. All right, that pool of money to pay attention to the games athletes and then broadcast it out to the world to be able to monetize that broadcasting, to then come in and hopefully grow that pool of money to do it bigger and better, right? Like, is that the goal? Bigger and better? More and 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 more. If you're going to broadcast this thing and you're going to treat the games as if it's going to be a business, then let's talk about the fact that it's going to take a long time to grow it. How many years has this been broadcasted? 10? 12?
Only bits and pieces, too.
Like, there's...
How many basketball games, how many baseball games, how many football games are there a season?
Right, there's
so much
all
to
of
this, though.
yes,
there's so much to this because it's like, it's not... So I'm thinking about CrossFit in the terms of a methodology, and it will spread because it's true.
Inevitable.
And therefore, it will inevitably spread. Whether a billion people are doing it or whether 100 people are doing it,
All right.
it will be around, it will exist, and it will just continue to propagate.
Yeah.
Because of, like, we don't do any advertising, right?
Correct.
Like, it propagates because people tell other people about CrossFit Krypton, and they enjoy coming here. They like the workouts. They like their friends. They like the fact that they're getting in shape. Or people just look at them. They're like, man, what have you been doing? Like, you look like a whole different person. And then they tell them and they want to experience it. It's like it just spreads naturally word of mouth because it's true and it's good and it's right and it's the best thing that we have to date. Like, I'm not saying it's like this holy grail of whatever, but it's like the best thing that we have for health and fitness right now. It goes against the it goes against the grain. Like, it goes against it teaches like nutrition in a way that actually goes against what the government and the people tell you that is the right way to eat. I posted about this in my story.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, that's the food pyramid is super old and outdated for sure.
He was like, who makes the food pyramid? It's like marketers make the food pyramid.
Yeah.
Not dietitians or scientists. I'm like, sure, there are probably dietitians and scientists like in there, but they're all tied in with the marketing. So it all matters of like, if we're talking about money, it's like they're just trying to make the most money that they can for the companies that are going to work with them in the future, and they can mutually, grow to the highest possible point. It's like, that's why I think in CrossFit, you have to have your goal. You have to have your eyes set on a goal that's above money.
Correct.
And the problem is, at some point around 2016, it started to become all about the money. And I'm like, well, why did it become all about the money? Well, because the person who won the games, his slogan was hard work pays off. It pays. It's like, I'm all about the money. It's like, I had to say it, whatever. But like, yeah, not saying there's not good that comes from it. Not saying that he shouldn't have done that. I'm just saying that it changes the dynamic of the whole community when you change the CrossFit Games champion. Like, that's weird. Like, that's odd that works.
Bro, Justin Medeiros is walking around talking about walking barefoot on the earth to do what? How many people know about grounding? Everybody watched that video of him and they're like, oh, cool. Like, he's walking barefoot in the grass, and he starts kind of going into it a little bit and then stops. It doesn't go all the way in. Like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so there you go, internet. Go and find out what grounding is. Go and find out why he did that.
And this is where it's supposed to work. Like, if you have the fittest on earth and you're watching what they're doing, they're supposed to be doing the right things it's supposed to be doing something that other people can take and grab, and that's the truth, and that's the right thing. It's like, generally speaking, it's something good.
A coach, I think, that stems from your, like,
philosophy.
Yeah, your philosophy. Adam Neefer, who has been around the community for years, owns a gym, sent teams, true affiliate teams, to the games in the past year.
This isn't my philosophy, by the way.
Oh, well.
Like, I don't know anything. I just try to find the truth and then share it,
But
I don't make up truth.
I know.
Like, so
truth exists.
That makes maybe a bit of a difference, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been your own coach, basically, for your whole CrossFit career. Some other,
Because all I've done is I've paid attention to the space, and I've paid attention to the world, and I've paid attention to the people that are succeeding, and I've paid attention to the people that are failing, and I've paid attention to the people that are growing companies, and I listen to all of them, and then I gather what's good, and I bring it in, and then I use it for what my goals are. But if my goals are like just to make money, like, sure, you can do it, but that's not the highest. Like, there's something above that that's greater, and some people never find it out. Some people takes a long time, but like, there's something above it. And if you don't have your eyes on that, you can get very easily sidetracked, and then down the road you pay the consequences of you essentially not having your eyes on the right mark.
And I think you can pull out people in plenty of sports that are like that too.
Sure.
That are for love of the game. Like, I just think about Michael Jordan. Like, maybe you made however many you made, but you could see the true intent to why you were playing the way you were playing, and the effort you put in, and where you focused, and just wanting to be the best at your craft because you just loved it that much. Not just because I found myself unusually good at this one thing, and so now I'm going to capitalize on that and make as much money as I can in the space.
And I'll bet you that if there was a conversation about basketball and you sat Michael Jordan down and you started talking about the philosophy of basketball and the idea of this, like, he would be all about the sport, all about the idea of like the nuance of it, how this thing's important, and someone that's listening could take from them that attention to detail, and they could take that attention to detail and they can place it in another area of their life,
right?
And they can find benefit from that.
Yeah.
So it's like there's good that you can pull from it.
Right. Here's like a wild thing. So Hiller just said they make $60 per video. All right.
Hiller does?
Yeah. All right.
Solid.
I wonder if he would keep doing, he's listening. So it's like, would you keep doing it if that paycheck doesn't grow? Because the hope is to make money, I think. However, there is
his hope. I think he started it in hopes to help the space the
and
same way that we're sitting
that's
here
where I was
going to
get to. Yeah,
I think it's good intentions.
It takes 6 to 8 hours, he said, sometimes to make a video. And
Right.
you get $60.
Right.
So you're working for $8 an hour, $10 an hour.
Right.
Like,
it's the idea of a CrossFit gym.
rough.
It's like
That
some
is
people run a
the
CrossFit
idea.
gym and they don't
Yes.
make any money, and then other
Right.
people look at them and they're like, "You're a sucky businessman."
Right.
And I'm like, okay, sure, but that's not my goal. My goal is to thrive, obviously, but I
Right.
want to bring this thing that I know is true and good to as many people as I can.
So we're just going to talk about qualifiers at this point of like, what is the qualifiers that you have in your life that establish what makes it worth living? And if the qualifiers that you have have something to do with the amount of monetary gain you get from whatever you're doing, cool. That is what you will be tested by. That is how you want to be tested. That's the way you're going to test yourself. That's the way that you're going to project yourself. But if that's not it, if it isn't money, if it's not how do I monetize myself, if it is all right. And here's an example. Cara Saunders showed you a little bit of, hey, I came here to compete. There is money on the line. I still love doing this. I'm still capable of doing this at a high level. And then also, I have this little bear that's in my care, and that little bear that's in my care was asking me, mommy, if I'm winning.
Yeah.
And I had to keep saying no, and then eventually they released the last workout. I said, I'm gonna win this one. I'm gonna go get this one so I can say that. That transcends, even if there was a prize money for winning the event, it transcends everything else. Doesn't matter, and that's the thing that's like, it's undescribable. It's indescribably special. However, maybe this is the conversation where it's like everybody that's talking about professionalization, money, blah, 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 they just don't get that. They won't get that. And they'll keep this thing in the category of business. And I get that. I do. I really do understand that. If you want a return on investment, if you're going to open a CrossFit gym, you need to have a return on your investment. You can't spend money to make no money. You can't just continue to go in debt.
Yeah, the world will tell you you're naive. The world will tell you that you can't do it. The world will tell you that you got your eyes focused on the wrong things, but they just don't know.
Yeah.
And at some point, you got to say, look, you have to have confidence in your abilities, yourself, your mindset, your understanding.
Right. I don't think that. I just wonder. I wonder how many people view this that way.
Well, so no matter how much money you throw at it at the individual athletes, you've got 40 males and females at the games every year. You have less than that at invitational style events like Rogue. So few people will have a bulk of the money almost all the time.
Right. We know that just in general.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just
as
a
a truth
So
of the world.
I forget
so
what that's
throwing
called.
more money in, so athletes
parade,
can
like
get
distribution, some
get
sort of
more money to
distribution.
trickle down to what? Maybe now instead of the top 10 making a good amount, top 20 do. That's still such a small part of CrossFit totality. Like it seems like you're saying it, the focus should be back into the methodology, back into the affiliates to just completely work on spreading that more and more. Like you can throw some more money into it, but that's not going to help it go out. Like it doesn't kind of trickle down and affect the lower levels or the average gym goer or the CrossFit coach who's like, okay, I do this is all I do 10, 12 hours a week. If I didn't have a husband who made money, I couldn't live like that, but I do it. I could make more money doing plenty of other things, especially with 2 degrees, but I like this and I help people and I develop relationships with people and you know, it's cool. It's cool to see them get better. It's cool to have had a relationship with your coaches that like made you get better, and then you get to spread that. Like that's where the magic is.
Yeah, it's so fulfilling. It's like it's that thing, like you said, above all of the other things.
Let me ask you this, Ben, just like out of left field. Yesterday was the deadline for all the trades for the NFL. I was following it, and the Colts traded Nyheim Hines to the Buffalo Bills. He's a running back. Not that big of a deal. Could be a big deal. We don't know if it's a big deal or not, but they did the trade, whatever. And then somebody commented on it on the internet, on the YouTubes. I clicked on the video. I wanted to hear what this person had to say about it. And he said that he loved this guy, Nyheim Hines. He was like, this is one of my favorite teammates when I was playing football. I love this guy. You know, and he just starts going in on like why he loves this guy. And then he was like, and this guy, and you want to know, here, this is what encapsulates him. When he goes back to return a punt, he yells audibly, if I die, I die. And then returns this punt. I heard that. I paused the podcast or the show. It's more of a show that this guy does. And I started thinking like, man, like that's love. Like that is actual like either or delusion. Like either this person loves what he does so much that he's willing to die to do it and keep doing it, or he's delusional and has his priorities off and can't seem to orient himself towards an actual true good purpose in life. I arrived at the conclusion of like, man, that makes me want to run through a brick wall. You know, like if I die, I die. But it also comes back to my actual profession is kind of like a evangelist, you know, type of thing. Like in the beginning, it was not safe to talk about Jesus. And, you know, they were snatching you up out of the streets and murdering you and hanging you on a cross upside down. If I die, I die. You know, like I had a homie in college when we like first started doing, you know, sort of like this Young Life thing or whatever. He was doing this homeless ministry, and we were both personal trainers at this gym, and there was a tent camp behind the gym that we worked at. And we'd go down and just go and hang with all of the homeless that lived in the tents. And eventually one of the couples went missing, and we're like, you know, like, where did they go? What's happening? Are they in trouble? We need to figure this thing out. Track them down there at this motel, you know, miles away. Get to their motel. Tony goes up to the door, knocks on the door, and this dude, you know, opens the door, gun in the face. What do you want? He says this. He's like, I come in grace. I come in grace. I come in grace. And the guy puts his gun down and he goes, what do you want? He's like, I want to talk to them. And the dude lets them walk out of the room and closes the door, and they leave with Tony to come back behind the gym. Tony was talking to them. It was on this huge drug bender, like just crazy story. They get back and he's like, what was going on? He was like, that guy was holding us hostage and said that if anybody came to the door, he was going to kill them. If I die, I die. Which, I mean, at this point, it's crazy. It's crazy thinking about that story. And also, it's crazy to think Tony has ALS now, and his body is just eating itself. It's just shutting down. And that's really hard to see too. But even when I talk to him to this day, it's like, obviously he doesn't want to die, but I would do this unto death. That's what is this guy experiencing when he's like, I'll catch this football and run it back and die?
Yeah, we don't quite know.
You know?
Like, I don't know what he's thinking. Because you could say that to two different... You could say that to you, and you could say that to you, and you could say that to 5 other people, and I think everybody would have a different response.
Because sometimes it feels like the consciousness that's arising right now is like people watching that, and they think the punt returner's yelling, all right, 40 grand. Come on in.
That's so true.
You know, like, that's not... You wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, but that's how we view it. It's like Steph Curry makes, $47,000 every 3-pointer he makes or something. It's like nobody thinks of this that way. Why are you inserting this into this? Nobody cares. Like, we like watching him make shots, not how much he makes to make shots at all. But I hope that he makes money.
When it changes, but it changes things when you look at it that way. So what does it change?
I don't know. I think it dehumanizes in a little way. It kind of like takes you out. Like, it kind of like detracts you from like caring about the person almost. It makes it pretty easy to not care about the person. It makes it pretty easy to write, crappy comments. It makes it pretty
a little more
easy.
Divisive maybe.
Yeah. To focus on the wrong, I don't know. It just seems to corrupt. For me, or it corrupts my spirit when I think of it that way. At least maybe that's the angle I should say.
Yeah, I can't say I've
Does
ever
something to
watched
me.
anything, any pro sport, and actually thought about the breakdown for any athlete. Not that I pay that much attention to how much my favorite athletes make. Usually, I just see stuff here and there. But more so, the things that resonate with me are when athletes, give up some of their salary for the cap in their team cap because. For the team, for the effort to win.
Right.
And to not keep it all for themselves.
Right.
That one superstar. Because that one superstar is not going to bring you the championship if you don't have a well-rounded team.
There's a reason. Well, never mind.
That's so interesting.
That's important.
But that's so interesting that's a captivating story.
Yeah, to me,
it's like...
To me, that always kind of sticks with me. I'm like, cool.
You mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like
you're about,
It feels to me when that happens that they care about the sport more than they just care about their paycheck and their padding their account. Granted, some of these people have so much money that it doesn't matter at that point. But, I mean, it's like, hey, I was guaranteed this in my contract, but I'm willing to say I'm going to take this much less because I know it's helping out the team. And that also helps them out down the road, too. Brings them a better running back, O-lineman, someone that can protect them if they're a QB, whatever,
Right. Would you have done this in the capacity that you did it if you didn't win?
If I didn't win.
Yeah, if you never won the game.
It took me 7 years to do that.
Right.
And, I was going through college when I did it.
Would
so,
you have
it wasn't my, it wasn't, the thing that I was focused on until that year.
So like this.
I did it before I made money doing it.
Right.
And the only way that I made money doing it was because it just happened as a byproduct of me doing well.
Yeah, that was... I
didn't go out... I didn't ever go out asking anybody for a sponsorship literally until this year.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any sponsors.
Yeah.
But I have Rogue. Rogue sponsors me.
And that's the other thing too. Like, you progressed on with that goal in mind of winning the CrossFit Games, not... Ooh, if I win, it's $175,000.
Right.
Like, that wasn't the goal. Wasn't to earn the $175,000. The goal was to win, and with that came that prize money. And I wonder if people think about that differently.
Yeah, some would say that I was not the smartest in doing it the way that I did. That's how some people would say.
Capitalize at your peak, maybe.
Sure, but I'm saying I have what I need. It's not like I'm... What do you mean by capitalize on it, how much did I need to make for you to say that I capitalized on it, kind of thing, you know? Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know the answer to that.
I was focused on the results, and, you know, everything else kind of works itself out. I was try to focus on the right things, you know?
And to my point, I think you could say you focus on the right things equates to help normally. Like that's what I feel like I've heard you say. That's what I feel like I've heard you say. That's sort of what Hiller says. Like the idea is to help. We're in the CrossFit space, so the idea is to help CrossFit, or the idea is to help CrossFitters, or the idea is to help, and then it's to help the community through CrossFit, or to help my family through whatever. And so what is so attractive about helping that is able to forego this monetary need for gain? And that's the thing where it's like, hey, this money thing corrupts these nonprofits.
You have to know that.
You know,
you have to know that. Glassman knew that. That's why he would always make this statement of like, he always left money on the table.
Leave it on
purpose.
the table, right? Leave it on. Yes.
Like, what company can say they really do that? Like, it was different. Like, CrossFit stood out. Like, he went up against giants in these different arenas because he was doing the right thing. Like, sure, you could critique the way that he did it, or you could critique things that the guy said. It's like, that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
But nobody else was willing to even step into the arena.
Mm-hmm. It's wild.
You know, yeah, it's crazy. Or unable to step into the arena.
Yeah, because these other companies were so big, like Big Pharma, too big to fail kind of deal.
Oh, and their tentacles are just like locked up into everything, you know?
We're so small as far as a corporation is concerned. CrossFit.
This is why it's important for CrossFit to stay true to its roots, because it is it's like the Agent Smith in the Matrix. Like, it's in there, and once it's in there, it will replicate itself. The gym idea, the community will replicate itself until eventually it will spread.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it stays true to its roots, it'll stay what it was.
And I think you're going to get, like, it's not going to be completely linear, right? And right now I think we're going through a period where we're sort of here, and the uptick is it's very small. Because some people come into the space, I think, CrossFit, open a gym, because you don't need anything more than that level 1, and thought it was going to be something different, or a fast track to send in some teams to regionals and being the fittest, and like tying their whole life up in it that way, but not in a way that affected other people positively, right? Like more focused on the sports side to open the gym. And so those ones are going to die out. Those ones aren't going to last. So we'll have, some open and then some close. But the ones that open for the right reasons, for the methodology, they believe in the methodology, like you did, why this gym opened, why so many other gyms in this area too started, they'll stand the test of time, and then they'll keep growing. Mm-hmm. And it's just going to take time for more of those to open. Mm-hmm. And the ones that open that aren't there for the right reasons, they'll disappear.
And it's important for those gyms to talk. Yeah. Like I was down with CrossFit Texas and talking to the owners there, and it's like they see exactly what I'm seeing.
Right.
It's like we are on the same page. I talked to all the legends at the games. It's like they see what I'm seeing. They've been in it from the beginning.
Yep.
But it's like you have to continue these conversations, even though it might not be, might not seem productive, like talking like that. But it's valuable, because I think that if we don't have it, like you said, you're going to get new people in the space. And
it's certainly not nothing.
Yeah. And the new people are just going to have eyes for different things. And if you're always attracted to the shiny objects, you're going to get caught, essentially. You're going to trip up.
Yeah.
Right. So
we stayed very broad. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, what were you going to say?
No. Go ahead.
When you thought of the competition this weekend and everything that it can stand for, that it did, that it had at it, who was there, what it tested, why it even happened, all of the above. What sticks out to you?
The Legends event was really interesting to me. Like, people really seemed to like to watch that. It was weird to me. Because it's like,
I
what is
don't-
those guys?
Try and
I don't know.
Do you know
I
why
don't
I
know.
really
Describe
like
it.
to watch that? Because it brought it back to people they knew if they were in the space for a long
Mhm.
time that they watched when they went to regionals
Mm-hmm.
before regionals disappeared. And also, I think it's a little more attainable. It's like they're moving at a pace that a lot of us are like, oh, I can move at that pace. You know what I mean? Like you're seeing some of your older previous champions or longtime games competitors now still CrossFitting, but of course living their lives, like having kids, families, just running their gyms.
Mhm.
And so they're more of a recreational CrossFitter, like most of us are,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to stay healthy and promote the methodology. And you can see, like, I can do that. I can step down there and do that. Not this otherworldly level where we're at the peak of the sport,
Yeah,
where
it was
it's
like
like I'm so out of touch with that because I am never going to be that kind of caliber athlete. Watching people back squat a weight that I'm like, can't even deadlift that weight is like, I don't know. This workout doesn't compute in my head.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the amount of weight
You'll be
I
able
have-
to deadlift that weight in 12 weeks.
Yeah. day one of the deadlift
sign up for the
program
program.
is done. But yeah, no,
It's like a tier between the games and
Right.
the everyday person.
Right.
That's
And
what so that's why I thought was fascinating. That was a connection between the two.
Sure.
And we're losing that connection. The
And-
affiliate competition brought that connection to the
Mhm.
to the regional level, in my opinion,
'Cause
and then to the games level also.
so many people now that compete at the top level, not that this isn't hateful or anything, it's just they're not attached to one gym necessarily or one community, or they work out more on their own, or they're not coaches in the gym or owners of the gym anymore. That used to be the norm. Like with yourself, with Spieler, like Chan, like they coached at a gym, they had a long time connection to gyms, you know, so they had like a big community or a big following of themselves, like just out of the gate.
They all still have gyms.
Right.
Chris has a gym.
I don't think Matt does anymore.
Yeah, Matt had one, and I think he
So
moved
there's-
out.
Yeah.
Moved out of it.
Moved
They
out.
had CrossFit Verve for a while.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I know Tommy has a gym. I know
Yep.
Dan's got his barn gym, but Dan's worked at Rogue forever.
Yeah.
He's always bounced around. Rich has his gym.
Stacy Tovar.
Who works with the SEALs? Josh Everett works with the SEAL
Mhm.
teams. You know, like the strength and conditioning coach.
Yep.
Speaking of, how is his knee?
I think it's just a quad tweak.
Okay.
Jason came off the floor, and Jason was like,
Okay.
he tore his ACL. His ACL
It
went
looked
like,
bad
and
on
Jason
video. It
like
looked
post workout, you know, excited
Yeah.
and amped up, and
Yeah.
then Josh comes back in, and he's like, oh, I just think I tweaked my quad.
It looked really bad.
But I
on
think he
video.
made it look
Yeah.
pretty scary. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, all those guys,
But
all
yeah,
those
they
guys
all
were,
have-
they're still
Right.
doing this.
Well,
yeah.
they're still in the community. Like it's like you said, how long are you going to do this? Forever.
Yeah.
They're done competing. They're done making money from their sponsors. They're just in their gyms now, doing what they started out doing.
Because they loved it.
Yeah.
And they saw the truth in it, and that if the life changing things that it can do.
And
Dude,
like,
here's just here's another NFL reference. This running back for the Cleveland Browns in 2013, I'm pretty sure it was Peyton Hillis was his name, was just came out of nowhere, ended up becoming, I'm pretty sure it was the MVP of the league that year, which is, I mean, absurdly hard to do. Ends up making it on the cover of Madden that year, has this remarkable season. It's absolutely incredible. The next year sucks, gets cut somehow. MVP to cut to, what did he decide to do after he got cut from being the MVP of the National Football League? Take a guess. I want you each to guess one thing. What did he decide to do with his time afterwards?
Football coach?
At what level?
High school.
yeah.
He became a high school football coach. There's this thing that's like, when you're doing this thing that you love, it doesn't even matter if you end up on the cover of Madden, you end up back at your gym. It's like Stacy Tovar rises to prominence within the sport, the elite level, doing great, winning, regionals, all of the above, wins the, competition with you multiple years in a row, all of the above, and then is like, man, I think this part of my life is over. I'm gonna
Pivot.
I'm gonna pivot, yeah, and transition into, I'm gonna start having children. And what was the pivot back to? Doing the class workout
Yeah.
at her own affiliate.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not sure what people don't see about this. Is like,
And you know what happens? You know what happens to
Yeah.
her affiliate? Who she is they're both great coaches, right?
Yeah.
World-class coaches. Their gym has the in the neighboring vicinity that they live, it's like the competitive gym, so people are like afraid to come to it.
And that's what this is. That's what Krypton has been. I've heard that like
Sucks.
so many people
Mhm.
in this area of why either took them so long to walk in through these doors. Like, I thought you had to be so good to come here. I'm like, what? Like, I wouldn't
But
be allowed in now.
People don't understand. Yeah, people
A test to get in the door.
Whatever.
No, it just
should put a pull-up bar at the door.
it just
We're gonna
trickles
check your ego
down,
at
like,
the door.
every gym community, the vibe or like it just trickles down from the top, and that's always been you and your parents too. You know, also in that realm, but it sets the tone for how people treat each other in the gym, for programming when you do it versus other gyms are just like, man, most of my people can't do muscle ups. We're just not programming those, and most people here aren't trying to make it to the next level, so to speak, the semifinal level. But that doesn't mean they don't want to do cool stuff.
That's why it's so important to compete against yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, like the guy, the Wall Street weightlifter.
Yeah.
He
Dude,
just
he's
I
so
saw him do
good.
like 100 snatches, 225.
Yes.
And I was like, man, I want to do that. That'd be cool.
Dude.
But anyways, one of his comments, he posted something like competing. Have you
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
competing or whatever? And he goes, I compete against myself every day.
Right.
It's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's the mindset, right? Like, it's cool. I thought it was cool.
Yes.
And with one
That
another
needs
in
to
a
be the
friendly
mindset.
manner.
Yeah,
friends.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we did
yeah.
the 7 minutes of muscle ups, yesterday.
Oh, I was
And-
competing the whole
and,
time during that thing. You kidding me?
and
I was
like-
trying to post a score that Josh couldn't beat because he always beats me on muscle ups.
Yeah, and someone was like, I'm not telling you my score until
Yeah.
7:30 when you do it. No, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not trying for your
Did
score.
you? Fine.
I'm trying for my score.
Yeah.
And I failed in what I wanted to get, but I haven't done ring muscle ups in far
All right.
too long.
I want a live guess. How at what point 1 to 10, 10 being the best, do you feel your muscle up skills are at right now?
Right now,
Yeah.
like a 5.
5. And all right. And during a workout, all right, 7 minutes, you're at a 5. How many did you get?
Oh.
Don't way over guess.
Oh, you didn't
because
let
then
me
I'm
think
gonna,
about
like,
it. Hold on.
I'm
I'm
gonna
a
let
good
you down.
Do you want me
I'm
to go
gonna let you down.
last but I have to have reference. I don't have a good reference number for you.
I-
What do you
okay.
do 30 for time in? How long does 30 for time take you?
think
I have to have some
I think
reference.
it was around 10.
Okay.
Not super solid ring muscle ups.
That's
Don't
great.
put in the
10
effort.
minutes is great.
No. It's like a 3. So that was sort of
every
my
minute.
goal at approaching the 7 minutes.
You
Was
said you didn't do well on this one?
Yeah.
not as well as I would have wanted to.
17. 17. I
I
want
went to-
17.
I
I
went
was
to
going to guess
singles.
19.
I want 17.
18.
Oh.
My goal was like 21 to 24. Was
Yeah,
the window.
right,
3 Yeah.
Because I wanted to do 3, and
I was
they
going to say
just
21, and
feel
then when you
good.
said you didn't,
yeah, they
you
just
didn't feel well.
good out the gate. Well, like the end of the month.
We're going to do
probably
we're going to
will.
do them a good amount this month,
I
so
know
we'll
we'll
get
do
you
I
we'll
know we will.
do some
And then they'll
dips.
feel great at the end of the month, and then I probably
man,
won't do them enough to maintain that, and they'll
Yeah.
dip back down.
I've been doing we've been doing so many bar dips, but I've been doing like tempo bar dips to failure. And just doing 2 sets
It's getting diesel.
just to failure. And my muscle ups, if you ask me how I felt about my muscle ups, 11 out of 10.
Yeah.
They feel
They
so
looked
good. Like they've never felt better, but it's like little things I'm tweaking and changing. And
60 in 7 minutes is absurd.
but I'm saying if you're working on your dips, your muscle ups will get better. Strict
yeah, my
dips.
were pretty bad
Yeah,
right now.
we'll work on them
They
this
were.
month. Don't you worry.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
That's our movement of the month for the people that don't know. We do a movement of the month. 7
Why?
minutes of muscle ups.
Why do we do a movement of the month?
We need a goal.
Just a
Yeah, we
monthly
just
goal.
need a goal.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it, but you're going to do the workout, I guess, if you're going to come on that day. And we're going to work on something. So I like having all of the gym focused on something. Because I think if we're
Yeah.
all collectively focused on at least something moving forward, I think everybody it just builds community, and like everybody can kind of work on the thing. Like,
For sure.
because sometimes people don't love the movement of the month or whatever, but they'll get like roped into it or peer pressured into
Yeah.
it, and it's helpful. It's good. I mean, I do them every time I can. If I'm not training for something or competing or just done it.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause half the time it's just the workouts that we do the week before. So
Do you have any more? Did you have anything else about Rogue that you noticed or that like stood out or that you wanted to talk about?
Speaking about dips
What you got?
and strengthening yourselves in weak movements, I had to sit through, the commentary and watching Laura, and something we know that has always been a little bit of a struggle for her. And it's so hard, and which I think she did phenomenally better at, honestly, because I went back and watched her in 2019 right before this to see where those were at, and that sticking point was like right down at the bottom.
Yeah,
like,
she was doing doubles in the warm up area.
She could barely get out of it. Then she couldn't even get out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
This time she had some no reps, which I can't tell you what they were for. Some people were saying the feet would go a little too wide, but I couldn't, to me that didn't look wider than the winner, Emma McQuaid, whose feet got wide in her last set too, and they were all good reps.
Just depends on
it's bad, but it's like angles and judges and stuff. But I think the hardest thing to listen to is just people assuming that she's not putting in the work because she didn't get 300% better at something.
Yeah, people just don't know.
Or
it's like
not doing the right stuff.
There's a weird standard of Fraser getting last in a sprint and then first the next year.
Right, like people expect you have this weakness, you have this one hole, you're going to go home and you're going to hammer that hole, and the next time you show up, you're going to be the best.
Well, it's like, how the F did that happen? I know sprinting. That's crazy to me. It's either crazy impressive or there's something wrong with Laura because she clearly, can't, accomplish what, this, incredible feat after 3 months of, working on, pressing,
Yeah, I'm just supposed to magically get better at pressing in 3 months. I'll tell you that my weakness...
magically win that event in front of... It's like, people are so stupid.
All right. Anyways, another subject. My weakness has also been pressing, because I came from a baseball background. We never, pressed overhead. I benched every now and then, but, never worked on it, right? I came in, and I think my 1 rep max strict press when I started CrossFit was, 115 pounds. I'm not joking. I could do Fran because I could use my legs. You know what I mean? I had no pressing strength. I could do a couple strict handstand push-ups when I started. I could not handstand walk 1 step. I tried the first time the strict parallel handstand push-ups were introduced. Couldn't do one, even to the top of the parallel. Couldn't do one. Took me over a year or 2 maybe to just get one good one. And I was working on this as often as I could, with the limited knowledge that I had at the time. I will say that we have more people to pull from now, and we can get a lot more different viewpoints from different areas. But now I would say they're a good strength. They're not a strength of mine, but they're not a weakness of mine.
No.
If I had to go compete,
hang with
I can hang with them now. But that took me 12 years of I have a bald spot right here on my head because I did 300 to 500 strict handstand push-ups every week for multiple years. I would bleed right here out of my head because we would do so many handstand push-ups because I was bad at them and I wanted to get better at them. And we would press and we'd bench and we'd do all this, and it's I'm not necessarily built for that, but I've gotten better at it over the years, and I'm learning as I go. And I'm trying to give as much as I can of that to Laura. Mm-hmm. But it's it just takes time, people. I don't think you guys understand. You're not going to this doesn't happen in a year. That we're talking about, that doesn't happen. I don't care who you are. It doesn't happen. It's not, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
I am unconvinced that people are being genuine when they make their comments or have thought through anything that they've said when they make them. Granted, this is in the moment. Commentators are saying this or whatever. Move on. Or I can be charitable to them in that. The thing that I'm not going to be charitable to them in is the fact that you should know that this is 12 weeks later. This is only 12 weeks later.
Yeah, but I think they're going to look back. They're going to talk about it from 2019. They're not referencing just the 12-week period from the games. They're saying she couldn't do these in 2019.
Was it the exact same press?
Yeah, this was a repeat workout. Mm-hmm.
So
she didn't get a single one that year.
All right, well,
so she did do better.
No, well, this is what I'm saying. Did you do better?
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Retest, test, retest. Did you do better? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
And here's what happens though. It's like this in multiple different areas. It's once you get 10% better, there's an exponential growth curve, right? Like there's some period where you start to understand the movement and you get it, and then you can really put the gas pedal to the floor, right?
Yeah.
And we're almost there.
Right.
Like we're almost like
So close.
we're working really, and I say we, I'm like, Laura's working really hard on it. I do the same stuff she does, but I'm working on it too. And I feel great, I feel like once it clicked for me, I'm like, oh, I'm doing deficit handstand push-ups all day. I feel like I have some pressing strength, not quite like the Wall Street weightlifter guy, but
Let me ask you this. Do you think that you have the bandwidth or capacity to do this with multiple people at the same time?
No. Maybe.
You mean coaching
no.
multiple people?
Yeah, like how many more, do you think that it is, like these training camps,
Well, some of these training camps, it's not just one person. Ben has, other people obviously within our gym that help him on the back side of things. But as far as like the programming and the workouts go and working with Laura goes, it's just him. There's not a team of like an endurance coach, strength coach. That's all Ben. And a lot of these other programs have multiple coaches in there. And I feel like some of the athletes are handed off to like one primary coach and another primary coach. So it's not all like with Proven. It's not Shane Orr coaches 6 people. He's got a few people under him that then will coach this person, focus on this person, focus on this person. And as to my knowledge, they kind of filter them into a group based on their needs as most. Like he's got a guy that's good with endurance. So if someone's weak on their
all that makes sense to me. Like you would, I say it all the time. If you don't know how to do something, build a team around you that knows how to do it, and you're good to go. That's okay. It's okay to not be good at everything.
My methodology was there's always the internet.
Right.
Like the internet didn't exist 40 years ago or whatever. It's like, but now you can find the top quality information from the best in every discipline. Right. Take it and use it.
Right.
That's what I do. That's why I share my programming. I receive so much. I'd like to also give back to that. Obviously, it's not going to be free.
Right. Like not at all.
But yeah. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but like it's helpful if you have weaknesses in certain areas for sure.
Does anybody else have just one-on-one type?
Well, to answer your question, no, I don't know
coaching?
if I could do more than one, but
I don't really think so. Right now, he's developed a relationship with Olivia Kirkstetter, and Jacob Hebner's coached her. I don't really think he works with anybody else that's trying to punch their ticket to the games, but I could be wrong. But I know that he works with her a whole lot.
I'm reading the new Hunger Games book. That's the prequel. And, you had the, whatever the event is that, where they bring in the tributes, whatever it's called. Shoot. But each tribute gets a coach. And last night I'm falling asleep. I'm like, every games athlete goes to the games with a coach, which is basically a caddy during that week, which is just a mule that carries your stuff
Sherpa
around. And I do want credit for that. I said that first in an interview with Savan backstage at the 2017 games, by the way. There is record of this.
What'd you say? That it was like a caddy?
Yeah. Somebody walked up and was like, hey, what's it like being Ben's coach? And I was like, you mean caddy? I carry this stuff from A to B, my guy. Like, don't get it twisted. Nobody back here is doing any of that. And he was like, huh?
I will say it's a little different with some of the athletes.
So
not all the athletes are like that.
Right. Now, talk about that.
Well, a lot of the athletes are just like, what do I do now?
Like they look to their coach every time.
What do I do now?
What is my warm up?
What do I do now?
Doing?
Yeah.
Expect to be told.
Huh. For real?
For real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't have to tell Laura how to warm up.
Right.
Like we warm up every day and she knows exactly what she needs to do. If there's something extra that I like that she wasn't doing that I thought would be helpful, I'll say it. Or if there's something that I'm thinking about that I see on the floor that because she's focused on warming up, like if there's something I see that maybe she should think about or focus on, like I'll talk to her about it. But like
if I didn't know and trust you completely, I would say you're lying.
No, I believe him. I can see
but
that.
This is what I'm saying. This is why it's so important that we're talking, because the athletes that are performing right now at the CrossFit Games, I don't know that they understand the methodology. I think they just do CrossFit because they've seen it and it's cool to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they like, oh, I need a coach. No, I don't think you do.
And there's a little charity in there too, where like some people are going to be internally motivated versus externally motivated.
No, there's a
type of thing.
There's
but
multiple factors, right? It's
know.
not like I'm not making some blanket statement.
sure, it's
like
not meant to be
everybody
general.
doesn't need a coach. That's
Right.
stupid. Don't pull that out of
Right,
context.
for sure.
You know? But it's like, no, it's not absolutely necessary. In the same way that college isn't absolutely necessary anymore.
Great point.
Sure, it's helpful.
That's
Like,
a really good.
You got a degree, and it's like, yeah, you can get a better job, or like whatever. You could. Someone might look at you and say, okay, they went through the basic steps to get to this position, but there might be someone more qualified than you that never went to college.
Yeah. That's weird. That it might just be a personality type. You know, the
It
type
might-
of
yeah, it
athlete
might
that
be.
you have
It
might
might
just really matter a personality type. And no, I get that. I definitely get that. I still want credit for that though. So
You got it.
all right, I really do. No, it's been fun watching the progression of everybody. I will say this, Emma Lawson.
Yep.
Mhm.
17-year-old Emma.
I'm excited to watch her get better and better.
She's great.
And this is the thing that I like most about it. I think she is the athlete you just described, like the one that understands it, that understands the methodology, wants to move well, but like and more than like move well, like move well to the level at which I win.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that a lot. And you can tell that she cares, like actually cares. Like you go and like yesterday, what was it? I wanted to see if she had any videos of her snatching. And I was like, yep, okay, there you go. You get it. Like 100%. Just movement. And you can, I feel like that's the one where you're like, all right, I think you care. Like that movement is the one that
You
lets
move
me
well.
know.
So you
that
think
care.
quality of movement shows a little bit that they understand CrossFit methodology more?
It means you started at the proper place to me.
Maybe she had some good guidance starting out.
For sure. Where do you know where she started?
Oh, she's Canadian though, so I'm not exactly
Oh,
sure
no.
where. But now she's part of the Proven Crew.
Canada.
Mm-hmm. She was at the open announcement that Laura did with the deadlifts and the burpees that I went to and Rogue, and she was super composed for a 17-year-old, and
She did it?
yeah, she went head to head with Laura on that open announcement. You
Didn't
didn't see that?
see. I wasn't
Yeah.
paying attention.
Yeah,
I mean, I watched it. I watched
Mhm.
her do it.
yeah.
I watched it happen.
A little quiet, a little reserved, but
Even that,
looked
like,
mature beyond her years, I would say. Like I wouldn't expect a 17-year-old to have.
I think I
thing.
would enjoy interviewing people, though. By the way,
Yeah.
like just other athletes.
You'd be really good at it, actually.
It would be
You would
fun.
ask questions like that people wouldn't expect.
Yeah,
They wouldn't know how
I
to
would
answer
enjoy
some of
doing that.
Jamie's
Yeah, they wouldn't know how to
questions.
answer it either.
Like, come back in a week. I got to think about this.
Yeah. It's also not good for an athlete to answer some of the questions that you ask during the event. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to analyze my performance
Right.
that day.
Right.
I don't look at the leaderboard till the end. I didn't look at the leaderboard till the end of the days, and that was just to see where I was.
Mm-hmm.
I tried not to have like an emotional attachment to it.
Interesting.
I'll look back at it later, but like not during the
Then
event.
it helped you do what you
Oh,
needed
you have
to be
to.
done.
That's what I'm learning is how much more focused the athletes are on one specific thing. Like that's why I've struggled competing in the recent years. Like my focus is just not completely
Right.
on that thing.
Right.
My attention, the bandwidth of which my brain operates was just like scattered. It wasn't solely focused on this one thing. Probably because I didn't want it to be solely focused on the one thing. I just didn't.
Right.
I had
Yeah.
done it for so long. It was like I just didn't want to be specifically dialed
Right.
in there.
Right.
Not that I hate the sport or like I'm not, I still would love to compete, but it's like I've just got other things that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I still love pushing myself. I'm still beating my old times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to try to deadlift 600 pounds in 6 weeks. Like,
Let's go.
I
I mean,
so it's
I
like
beat my
still goals.
I beat my 30 muscle ups for time time
Mm-hmm.
during the 7 minutes of muscle ups
Yeah, that's cool.
workout.
That's cool. That's really
is-
cool.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I haven't been trying to get better at muscle ups. Just as haven't.
They're one thing that I have to be trying to get better at, or it's like I don't use it, I lose them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're still kind of in the initial like growth phase of learning how to
I've
do
been
them,
in the
though.
initial growth phase for like 3 years.
Like I said, it can
How
last a
long?
while.
How long? I went from like
Depends
one,
on how much time you spend
one
on
rep
them.
to 3
Yeah.
to just okay, I'm gonna snake out here, and then I had like one amazing workout where I
Yeah.
strung like the reps was like 6 of them, and I like hit them, and it was like 3 rounds. It was like running muscle ups and GHDs, and they were the best they'd ever been. And then the next muscle up workout, they were gone. And I was like, I don't get it.
Every workout's different, yeah.
I don't get it. Where did they
That's
go?
what I love about it. It's like every workout tests the skills that you have in a different way. Huh.
What did you think about about DT with the bike?
I thought it was like a bike workout for the most part. Like Krenikov won because he's like, I recover at 73 RPMs.
My
And I'm
recovery
like,
pace is your working pace.
that's fast.
Dude, that's so fast.
Yeah. Right. And
Hmm.
that's why he won, because most of the guys went about the same pace on DT. Other
Right.
people were breaking it up and they were still tying him on the rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't
'Cause his
necessarily
little
about.
cycle speed was a
Yeah,
little slower when
it
he
changed.
did the hang cleans and
Yeah,
stuff.
it changed the workout for sure. Like DT, it changed up what DT was. It was
Mhm.
more of just a bike workout.
Yeah, do you think he wins it without the bike?
No.
If it's just 5 rounds straight through,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Who won Heavy Grace? For the
Adler
guys.
did. Adler smashed that.
Yeah, he did.
Like
What'd he go?
318.
What?
Holy smokes! And I watched it today. It was great. It was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
I will say Hiller was on pace for 20 reps
He
to
did
beat
good.
that time.
For 20?
Yeah, and
When did he do it?
went.
What?
Live. On live.
Yeah, live, like no
He went-
warm up. And then he took like all his clothes off afterwards.
Bro, I appreciate a strip. I appreciate a post-workout strip. Don't give me... yeah. Hey, that's nice.
But I thought it was actually really impressive, and then
That's
he fell apart
nice.
in the last 5 reps. But that was what.
Last 5? Or
Yeah.
last 10?
Last
Oh,
five.
for sure.
And
like
he took one
crumbled.
no rep too. They took one away in that.
I thought that was good of him. Yeah, he didn't need to. I thought that was okay. I thought
So-
that was okay.
What did he get?
508.
Something like 5.
Something like that.
5 something.
509, something. Low 5.
But I mean, he was 20 reps in at 205 or something like that. I'm like, dang, this is cruising. Like he was on pace with
Smashing.
all the
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if he was on the floor,
No,
he'd be with third bar with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so as thinking about that workout, watching it,
Mhm.
like, okay, if you have any sense, like that the workout comes down to the last 10 reps.
Correct.
It doesn't come down to the first 20 reps.
No.
You have to know that.
But you have to keep a pace
You have to.
with the field in those first 20
Yes,
reps.
and if you're competing, if I'm competing in a mile race, and I'm an athlete, and I go out my first 48, whatever, so I don't break a world record, 48 seconds, and then crash and burn, and finish the race,
You didn't run a good race.
you didn't run a good race.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying, well, I went for it.
Right. No. Correct.
Like any
No,
of the
no, no,
athletes
right.
could have gone for it.
Right, exactly. The difference between you and me at that moment when you say that is 0 things. Because I could have just gone out and ran my fastest 400 as well.
Yeah.
At-
But it made me
what's
think
it
of it
matter?
made me think of it when Andrew did that workout, and like just smashed the first 20 reps, and then it's
Yeah.
like, what's the difference between him and a CrossFit Games champion?
Right.
Is the ability to know yourself well enough to have composure and complete your last 10 reps
Right.
with almost near perfect form,
Right.
while inside you're about to crumble.
Right. Granted, the
know.
test that he might have been doing was, can I do?
Yeah.
Can I do?
He was just going. Yeah, he was
30,
just going for it. But I'm saying
right,
that
right.
that's the difference.
Is,
Like,
am I going to?
it's
Am I
easy to-
going to slow down? Was
Yeah.
maybe the test that he
And
did.
being
instead.
sure,
athlete
that's what
on
I did
that.
yesterday on purpose with
Yeah.
my 7 minutes of muscle ups. I was like, all right, I'm gonna start out with 15, see what
Yeah,
happens.
see how it goes.
I wanted to test myself, but I don't do that in I wouldn't
I
do that in a
rarely do
competition.
that.
I don't
did
think
it
you can.
yesterday, too. I rarely do that.
Yeah,
When can you do that? I guess is my
Training.
question. Like
Training.
I don't know.
But
hate
you for
that.
sure have to know yourself as an athlete on that workout to not step up to that first bar and try to go someone's speed next to you on the left or the right if you know you're going to crumble at the last bar.
mm-hmm.
And I think that might be a little hard sometimes, especially if you less.
That's the name of the game, in my
No, I
opinion.
love doing
experience.
that though. I love being in a class workout that's 5 rounds and getting back, almost dead last on a run and getting off the rower close to the end of the pack and then performing whatever that third movement is. Maybe there's 4, that third and fourth movement just really well, and then leaving. And it's usually I'll catch whoever that is on the first round. Sometimes it takes 2. But it's like, what?
And that's usually the way that CrossFit workouts have been programmed in the past.
Like, hey, you could actually just smash this workout and me and whoever else is around if, like, you just didn't run that fast that first time. You don't need to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, which, I don't know. What is that when you're, like, in a workout and you're just, like, this really good runner? You just go out and you're like,
a little bit of a trap.
I'm going to do this.
You start any workout feeling good. You have one game plan in your head, and then you're like, oh, man, these 15 reps that I said I was going to do feel good. But let me go 21 instead because I feel good. But then the next round, you're like, okay, that's why I should have split this up. You know, so it's just experience. Yeah,
that happened to me. On that partner workout, whatever it was, with the overhead squats, the high rep overhead squats the other day.
Yeah, the
total bar one.
Yeah, total bar overhead squat.
Fell apart.
Yeah.
I was testing that. That was my mindset when I wrote that workout.
Dude.
Was I'm going to test your ability to hold like good positions while you're tired. I want you as an athlete to not blow up on the first round.
Yeah.
Like, you can compete, but you got to compete in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like every workout I write has a specific, purpose for that. Like that's what I'm thinking about when I write those.
Were you a competitive person when, like, you were a kid? Like, where did you...
when I started CrossFit?
Yeah, like...
Yeah, I was competitive.
Like, were you competitive, like...
At all.
Were you a cheater? Like, at, like, board games or card games or anything like that?
I can't say that I haven't cheated, but I didn't like when I cheated. But no, I didn't. I didn't try to cheat. I try to always do it the right way. Dang. But I mean, who hasn't cheated on something?
No, but I mean, like, but
that's how you learn not to cheat.
No, I was like a cheater. Like, I'd set up the Monopoly board and I'd hide money under the board. Type of thing. Like, I cheated. You know, like to the
my
point
grandpa
where
was always like, you know what? We were playing like blackjack in the living room when we were kids or whatever. He's like, you know what happens in Vegas when you cheat, right? He puts his hand on the table, like cuts your hand off.
No, I remember in elementary school, I was like, like you got like prizes, like silly prizes for winning, like in class games. But like we would play bingo or whatever it was, and I would just write down the spaces that were called out, and at like 14, 15, 16, like have been called, I would just yell bingo, and then the teacher. If the teacher was the teacher that didn't come and look at your board, and was like, tell me your spaces. I would just read out the spaces. Catch a prize.
That's quite diabolical of you,
dude. But this, I mean,
I use the word diabolical because it's smart and evil at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like almost like are you cheating, or are you just like, hey, that teacher's not checking? So
no, that's that was my mindset, and then but eventually that changes. Like eventually you realize, no, that's not. Even if that is on the teacher's fault, it is your responsibility way before then. Way before it gets to the check of, uncover your square.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, all right. Well, let's wrap it up. I got a good conversation, I think, for next time. But if you guys leave comments, I think there was one comment last time.
Yeah.
And the question was about building strength while doing CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, maybe we can elaborate on it, but I think, like, the best thing that I've found for building strength while doing CrossFit is treating your CrossFit workout kind of like accessories. Like, you know how you have an approach to accessories where it's like you focus more on quality than over the speed?
Yes.
If you do that in a CrossFit workout, you get a good workout, but you also get the stimulus that you would have, like, I'm really improving my movements. Like, you have to slow down a little bit and really focus on, like, the virtuosity of the movement versus just trying to blow through the workout and beat the person next to you. Like, if you really deliberately spend time like that, you'll get better.
Which is what
stronger.
You're saying.
You'll get stronger.
About the pacing part.
Because what is strength? Strength is, one, the ability to produce force, but it's also the ability to hold positions.
Yes.
So if I can at least just hold positions and practice holding positions, then I can just develop the raw power and the raw strength to put force through those positions. But if I don't know the positions, I'm not going to be able to get stronger. That's a problem with a lot of people is they're like, hey, Mike, check out my clean. And it's like, relatively light clean. And I'm like, well, you just failed because you didn't know how to lift. Like, you don't know how to lift the weight yet. Like, just because you can't hold a position. Like, go do some mobility. Like you don't need to be lifting a 1 rep max again. Like you just need to work on your mobility and your positions. So like something that I would like to talk about maybe on the next one is how programming to compete versus programming every day CrossFit. I think it would be an interesting topic because this kind of plays into that. But I really think if you focus on your workout like an accessory, it'll really
I'd love to say this just because I got, speaking of basketball and ending on that note too, like I for some reason went down a Michael Jordan quote list, like, and he has some really good stuff, and I just got sucked into him. And this one sort of resonated with me because it works there, it works here. But he said you can practice shooting 8 hours a day, but if your technique is wrong, then all you become is very good at shooting the wrong way. So get the fundamentals down, and the level of everything else you do will rise. And that reminded me exactly what you said about coaching people on their air squats in a warm-up when they're like, go away, I'm just sitting here, I'm just over here trying to get warm. And it's like, well, do it well. Like, don't do it like you're, you know?
Yeah.
And the same thing, like in the workouts, don't lift poorly because you can do it faster and get through the workout faster. I'm more impressed when people do it perfectly and they're a little bit slower at that workout, but they're focusing on the form, because then that's going to translate.
You just see potential.
Yeah,
right.
You're like, oh man, like I see some people row with just sheer power and like the amount of strength they have, and with like when we do a 500 meter for time, I'm like, oh my god, if you just focused on your efficiency on that row, you would be even so much faster. Like I can't even fathom it because I have to focus on every little rowing efficiency pointer because I'm smaller, shorter, I'm light. So I don't have any advantages on machines. So I have to be technically efficient if I'm going to hang out with someone that's 5'8", 160 pounds.
Yeah, you do it out of necessity.
Yeah.
But then you're trying to give away that you're like, hey, I found this out of necessity. This is something that would really benefit you that you might not have thought about because you never had to think about it. That idea of necessity is pretty interesting too, because it's like a lot of people, the world that kind of operates that way now is like not a lot of things are necessary and we lose them. So anyways, I'll leave it there.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. We'll leave comments if you guys have questions for next podcast.
Hooty hoo. Are people going to make it through that one? That was long.
How long was it?
I don't know. I felt like we were in here for like an hour and a half.